Hey guys, my name is Tahlia Jade. I'm from Atlantean Healing and Guidance. I'm an intuitive tarot reader, a medium and a psychic artist. This here is the lovely Zach Hale. He's from Inspired Inner Healing. He's a Reiki Seishim master and psychic medium. Through our combined passion, we have joined forces to create this Inspired Guidance podcast. You're welcome. With one goal to help heal the collective one piece at a time. So before we begin, we would like to acknowledge the land which we live and work is Ghana country, and we would like to pay our respects to the elders past, present and emerging. This is piece one, our introduction, so settle in, and this is where you're going to get to know us.
So first up today, we're going to have a little bit of a chat about my journey in being a psychic medium. So as Tahlia said in the intro, I own Inspired Inner Healing, and I didn't always believe I had psychic capabilities or even think that it was something that I would be doing in my life. It was one of those things where as a child I would really be seeing strange things and be really scared by them.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up very strict Christian, and I would always pray for these things to go away and all of that kind of stuff, you know. People walking into the room at night and really me seeing everyone. Yeah.
That is so relatable. I feel like for so many people out there, the praying away and seeing things.
Exactly. Because it's like the first thing that we think of when this happens to us is, what is this? This is the unknown. It can be really scary. Yeah. And so from that, really, I kind of suppressed it for a long time.
I think we've all been there.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Hit the like button if you agree.
Yes, subscribe to us. Stay tuned.
But really, from that, I leaned into spirituality. So I was very strict Christian, but I had a really great relationship with Jesus. And I think my relationship with Jesus kind of transcends any kind of religious actions and beliefs that people have on this planet. I really feel like it's a spiritual connection. And so really in the spiritual world, you know, Lord Sandana, he's Jesus really incarnate, and so I work a lot with him. Yeah.
And just by the way, guys, we are going to get really deep on that in a later episode, but we're just sticking to topic today on on us.
really introductory at the moment. So I'm 29 years old. I'm about to get married. A little bit about me is that I run my own little business, Inspired Inner Healing, from my home. And so I have a home clinic, just like this one, where we are with Tahlia today.
We're actually, basically neighbours.
Yeah, literally a few minutes down the road. Right?
Yeah.
So it's really cool. And the first time we met each other was at that Queen of Wands Psychic Fair, right?
Yep.
And so, I think I bumped into you, was it in Blackwood? It was Blackwood.
Yes, it was Blackwood. And we'll post a link to this fair's page for anyone who's in Adelaide who wants to come, because we will be showing our faces there here and there.
Yeah.
But we actually happened to, hundreds of people apply to this fair, and the organisers just kind of shuffle you wherever and allocate your stall, and the venue changes every month. So we just happened to be allocated stalls next to each other, and we were just like, hey neighbour, and he's like, hey neighbour, and then we were just having the best day, and I think we pretty much became besties as of that moment.
Absolutely. Then you really went into your background a little bit.
Yeah.
And you were talking about your nursing and that kind of thing.
Yes, that's right.
Which was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
But for me, I think as a bit of an introduction, I love the art of Reiki healing. So Reiki, if you're not sure of what Reiki is, it's that life force energy, and it's about channeling that unconditional healing to help someone really truly heal on all levels. So I'm a Reiki master, and I also have learned Seishim. So I'm a Seishim master as well, which is a different feminine aspect of Reiki. And I'm also a Karuna practitioner. And so Karuna is another form of Reiki, but it's actually more of that masculine energy, and it's out of this world galactic energy. So a lot of the meditations that I've kind of embarked on with Karuna have kind of seen me and taken me to different dimensions. I've seen different, I suppose, alien kind of creatures. It's kind of really out of this world when you think about it.
See, notice how this is like our introduction and we're just going pretty, I don't know, how would you describe it? Like no boundaries, no limits. We're just like...
Absolutely.
So this is our everyday life. This is what we do. Look at see aliens.
Basically. I know it sounds crazy, right? Yeah.
You'll get used to us.
Yeah, absolutely. What we want to do is invite you along for the ride. We want to learn from you guys as much as you from us. Like, we think it's a really beneficial relationship that we can all learn from one another. I've learned a lot from Tahlia. And
likewise.
I hope Tahlia's, learned a little bit from me as well with the Reiki side of things. Because I think that was really different to what you've kind of grown up with in the spiritual space, right?
Yeah. Reiki is probably one thing that I've never... I don't want to say resonated with, but like in terms of the way I've embraced my spirituality, Reiki has never really grabbed my attention as something I would want to do, but I have had it done by, a couple of times, and of course by Zach. And yeah, I appreciate it as a consumer, not something I want to like practice.
Amazing. Well, the thing is, I think Reiki and Tarot a lot of the times can be those spiritual activities and practices that can lead you to open your mediumship capabilities.
Yes.
Which Reiki absolutely did for me.
Sums it up really well, actually.
And for you as well. So we've come to being mediums, but in just different ways. So when I was healing someone on the bed, I could see people's loved ones coming through, and I would say your mum, your mum's at the end of the bed, she's having me really go to your womb area, and, I can really see that she wants me to not ignore her, because I'm trying to ignore her because it's kind of strange, but she's like really making me focus on the womb. And so that was really my first time in a Reiki session, where I thought, oh, this is just Reiki, like people's spirits come in, into Reiki healings all the time, like it's normal. But actually, it's not. It's a medium. As in, I'm the medium connecting to spirit. And they're able to see me as a bit of a beacon of light, and they're able to see Tahlia as well in that same way, to connect with and convey messages to. So I suppose that's how I became a medium, was getting rid of the fear from my background of that religious upbringing.
Yeah.
Which I have taken so much beautiful learnings from.
Yeah,
but
it's
really,
a difficult one, that one, to challenge that mindset and open your awareness around that.
100%.
Because it's often, as I'm sure we can all agree, like portrayed as either this or that, but never together. So that's where we kind of, I think, probably one of the things that helped us bond as well is that we both have that same view of religion and spirituality.
Definitely. Yeah. And pretty much that's, getting rid of that fear.
Yeah.
Embracing, joining a local psychic circle where we were practicing mediumship on one another and learning about all the clairs. So, there's all these different senses, if you like, and they're called clairs. So, for instance, I'm predominantly clairvoyant, which means I can see things in my mind's eye quite easily, very vividly. It's really intense. I can be quite clairsentient, so that's that knowing, that gut feeling.
Mm-hmm. I
kind of go with that, and that's how we live our lives through intuition. And it was just kind of expanding my intuition, expanding my relationship with other people, with psychometry as well, so having a crystal or something that someone owned who passed away, or a photo, and really channeling the message from that. So that's pretty much how it happened. I got rid of the fear. I started to get involved in spiritual circles. I started at the psychic fair that we both met at, and I was doing Reiki for free. I couldn't believe it, but I was like, guys, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just this new guy that does Reiki. Like, let me just give it to you for free and see if you like it. And that's how I just started to develop my my skills and to develop really a customer base that are quite loyal to me. Yeah.
I feel like your sort of coming out as your spiritual business was so gentle compared to mine. But
yeah, tell us about how...
Oh, we'll get into that, but let's backtrack 1 second.
Okay.
You said something before that I wanted to... when you were seeing spirits in a Reiki and you said something about not ignoring them. Can you just explain what happens if you do? If you, like, let's say you ignored it, what happened?
So, to be honest, I have been ignoring spirit for a very long time throughout my life. But in a Reiki session, if I was
specifically ignored someone's guide that came through, or loved one that came through.
So this is I didn't know what was really happening, and I was ignoring her. But she got the spirit actually went from showing me in the room, really in my third eye, to going to that person's womb to say you need to be here, to going into my mind's eye in my mind, and I could see her standing right in front of me saying, "Turn around, go back, you need to listen." And she was really, she's like, "I am her mother, you need to listen to me." And I was like,
so
yes, okay, I'm so sorry, I'm going back there. Because, sometimes when you're starting out, logic kind of sneaks into your mind and it can kind of dispel that connection. But let me tell you, this person's mum was not having it. She was like, "You need to go there right now." And so it was like something took over, and I was like, well, that's what I'm doing. And that your intuition just takes over when you get rid of the fear. That's what happened to me. My intuition just took over, and I just listened and followed, and pretty much that's how I found out that really I was a medium, and yes, this is happening, and no, I'm not going insane.
Yeah, and like acknowledging what you just tapped into, and because it's quite a big thing to label ourselves with and to identify with. Like, it was really hard.
Well, yeah, having said that, right, so clearly, like I said before, I grew up Christian, but I'm also gay, and I have a fiance I'm getting married to, Taylor, and so that was one coming out that was really tricky.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, on top of that, coming out again as a medium, I was like, oh my gosh, my friends are going to think, I thought, who do my friends think I'm going to be? Like, who do I think I am? This guy just randomly thinking he's a medium. But do you know what's really interesting?
Yeah, this is again where we are the same. And we'll get to all of that.
You guys will see that we are pretty much mirrors for one another.
Yeah, literally.
But with my friends, right, they actually said to me, "Oh, that makes sense. Of course that makes sense." They're like, "Yeah, Zach, but you've always been pretty spiritual."
Yeah.
"Oh, yeah, Zach, but, you've always kind of had that feeling, that gut feeling about things, And I was like, oh, so people actually knew this about me before I even accepted it, So it was just one of those really, really groundbreaking, mind-blowing spiritual awakenings of like, yes, it's happening. This is your calling. And I just felt equipped then to finally take it on board. Just really quickly, my actual first recollection of seeing a spirit in front of my eyes was when I was really young. And I have a bit of a fractured family, but my mother, who gave birth to me, she was wanting me to go into the bath and I could not be bothered with it. I was like, being quite annoying. I'm quite a stubborn person. So I was like, no, I'm not going into the bath. No, leave me alone. And I saw, because the rest of the house was dark, and I was looking out the bathroom door, and I saw this person walk past the door, and literally their head turned to me like this. I looked at their eyes, their head turned back the straight way, and they just kept walking. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go back in. I'm gonna go in the bath. Okay, and that was something I blocked out for ages and ages and ages. And then when this came back up, I was like, oh my gosh, it's all kind of full circle. So I guess as an adult, for me, it's just been about unlearning some of the beliefs that I had to really understand that it's all the same. And spirituality and being a medium and seeing spirits and working with spirit is absolutely a gift. And if you've got something like that that you're a bit scared about, that you're experiencing, or you're finding that you're really interested in this, I would really recommend become a qualified Reiki practitioner or get involved with tarot or card reading, because that might be the thing that helps you kind of dispel that fear a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, there are like endless things you can do. Like meditation, for one, is
Yeah.
so easy. Well, I mean, I shouldn't say it's easy. But like, it's something that you could easily integrate into your day and build on, and something that is talked about heaps these days.
Yeah.
So like, spirituality can look like anything. For us, it looks like, you know, the practices, what's the word I'm looking for? Our modalities or whatever that we described. But yeah, there's like literally probably endless ways that you could use your psychic abilities, which are the clairs that we sort of touched on. So what Zach was talking about when he said I'm unlearning what was sort of, I suppose, taught to us in childhood as an adult. Most of us will get to our adult lives and like still take a lot of that stuff with us, because we're going from like teenage years and whatever, students, and then all of a sudden we're adults and we've got these responsibilities and we got to work, and it's just like there's no time, or like we're going through a shock, right? Like a transitional shock. So you're not really thinking about the bigger picture until probably like late 20s, like, you know,
to be honest,
into adult, more, you know, well into your adult years, young adult years.
I have to agree with that. Like, I didn't start really accepting this part of myself until I was about 27.
Yeah.
27, 28.
Yeah, I reckon I was the same. Yeah, maybe 26. It's such a like typical part of the awakening, which again we're gonna do episodes like specifically on all of these bits and pieces. We're just telling you our stories.
Today's just
which
a bit
are
of
out there.
We're just saying hello, just get to know us.
Yeah.
And a bit of a taste of what's here to come, really.
Yeah, and I think our lives are pretty, like, if I was listening to someone talking about their life like we are, I would be like, that's not real. Like, these people's lives are crazy.
Exactly.
That doesn't happen. Something I probably should have mentioned, on the night that we are recording this video, it is Aries season. We just had a full moon in Aries, and we are about to have a new moon in Aries, so 2 consecutive moons in the same sign, which is pretty unusual. So yeah, astrology-wise, a lot of very big stuff is happening.
Absolutely.
So we have just had, I suppose, an upgrade to our usual ability, if you want to call it that.
Definitely, because I've noticed it with people crossing people over. Yeah. And you've noticed it as well?
Yeah, and this is like a collective thing. We're obviously just speaking for ourselves, but we're not the only ones experiencing this.
You guys, it's all happening to you as well.
It's happening to everyone. And what we touched on a couple of times, and I asked you earlier, is, well, for one, our roles, okay, in terms of our mediumship, it's not up to us to pick a spirit and say, hey, can we talk to you? It's they kind of come through to us, sometimes at like really random times.
Okay.
But yeah, they choose how and when they come through to us, and when they have done that, we obviously can only ignore that for a time, and obviously we don't anymore, but early on, when we're getting used to understanding what's going on, you ignore it at first. And what happens is they don't leave us alone. So the way you described, like, seeing this person's mother standing right in front of you, like, they literally take over our minds. It was the same for me the first time it happened to me, which kind of starts off my journey, so let's just start there. I, just for fun, bought an oracle deck. So this was before I knew anything about tarot. I hadn't studied yet, had no idea what I would be heading into a spiritual business. So I was still nursing, I was still doing my sales rep, medical specialist work. I was having a New Year's party at home with my friends. Bought this oracle deck that was Christmas themed. It just had the most stunning artwork. It was like metallic green on the outside and all these like witchy Yuletide like themed. Anyway, so I was really excited that I got this deck, and we'd been drinking, you know, like I said, it was New Year's Eve, and I was like to my friends, let me get my cards and like pull a card and I'm gonna like read for you. No idea what I was doing or talking about. But in that moment, my friend who I was reading for, his great grandmother came through, and I didn't say anything because of course I didn't know what the hell was going on. I was just drunk and at a party. But she literally came to my mind. She showed me this image like clear as day, and it was a message for my friend. But you know, like I said, didn't mention it or understand what the hell was happening at the time. So that whole night, that whole party, she was just there going like, yep, I'm here, I've got a message for my great, what would he be, grandson. Went to bed the next day, all day, still there, going, I've got this message, I've got this message. I was like, okay. And then, you know, read into it and started to understand what was going on. So that was my experience. I don't know how else to explain it. I know that sounds wild, but that's just literally how it came through. They just, like, it's just that clear sentence. I just knew who I was talking to, and I knew what she wanted to say. And eventually I did paint a painting of that image and gifted it to my friend and explained the whole situation and the message, and it just resonated with them so much, and they then went on to have a major spiritual awakening themselves. So it was just like the most beautiful, I guess, trigger. My goal in my business and what I want to do is very much focused around healing, coming from a nursing background, and everything that I've done, like healing is just what is natural to me. And also empowerment. So we're constantly drilling into people, unpacking this stigma that society puts on spirituality. And
absolutely.
You go and see a fortune teller and a tarot reader, and whatever they say, you have to do it, or you're not spiritual, you know. So we're constantly unpacking that and going, actually guys, you need to exercise your own judgment, you need to exercise your own intuition.
Free will, right.
Free will, but even without free will, you still need to exercise like so much judgment in spirituality. Which, if you are struggling with that, or if you're like, I don't know what they're talking about, or you're like, how the hell do you do that? We're gonna get like, you guys are gonna be experts at this by the end of this podcast. We're gonna get into that. What I have noticed in kind of the people that I attract, the clients and people that seek me a lot, is love advice.
Yeah, interesting.
Which is like quite intense, difficult love journeys. Again, we'll get to that in another episode. I also get a lot of other spiritual healers, readers, business owners, and a lot of young people. So like literally from like 10 years old to teenage years. So yeah, I feel like that's kind of maybe a purpose of mine. You could tell we're like working this out as we go. We're only in our first year still in the first year of business for me. What's it for you?
Yeah, so I've been in business for about a year and a half now.
Yep.
But Tahlia is working full time as a psychic medium and tarot reader and psychic artist. I am still undertaking Inspired Inner Healing as a part-time with the transition to full-time in the future. So, I'm learning a lot about business with Tahlia and a lot about marketing, because there is a lot of that, which kind of seems really difficult, because we get into this for the reason to heal. Heal people, let them feel empowered, put the control back in your hands. But at the same time, hey, we're running a business. We need to get an ABN. We need to make sure we do our tax if we qualify for that. We need to make sure we market. We need to pay for advertising, just all that kind of stuff.
We need to get insured.
Yes, big time, yes.
Like, this is a totally unregulated industry, and for me, coming from nursing, which was heavily regulated, into this, you can see how society creates this stigma, because it literally is anything goes. There's no body like APRA that is watching for the spiritual community that is going, hey, this is the ethics board, this is the whatever. This is, like, it's just not recognised at the same level, like, of qualification. Even if you said, I studied this, I studied Reiki Master, people are like, like, what is that? It's not like you say, I've got a bachelor in nursing. Okay, we know that. She went to university. She studied this.
I guess it's a strange concept, isn't it? Like, to really think, in order to do what I'm called for, I need to be a business professional. Like, it doesn't make sense. Yeah,
it doesn't make sense. And that was probably one of the most challenging things for me, because, again, similar, always been very spiritual, even from childhood. In fact, going through this journey and reflecting back on my childhood, I'm actually now seeing just how flamingly obvious my purpose was, but nobody picked it up, and I'm quite the black sheep in my family. Like, no one is spiritual, no one is even probably thinking half like-minded as I am.
Yeah.
So we really had to get ourselves through this journey on our own. And eventually we found each other, and we're like, oh my god, yes, someone else who gets
it's
what I've gone through.
We've lived the entire same path.
Yeah.
Just through different bodies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It literally is like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did get to this point where I was just like, okay, I know the content that I want to get out. I know what I want. I know what my intentions are. I know this. I'm like, how the F do you run a business? I did some research, and I eventually found this course run through, I don't know if I'm allowed to, anyway, run through an agency that we have here in our city, and it's a certificate 4, so it's like that's actually recognised. Unlike our
that's
professions.
A national qualification.
It's a national qualification. It's a Cert 4 in business, in entrepreneurship and new business ventures. So I've had a lot of help in that department with getting all of the right legislations, regulations, insurance bodies and that stuff in order, marketing plan, like business plan, all the finance stuff, like how to do your taxes, what the hell? So that's a whole nother side of thing. Maybe we'll do a business episode. We're going to add that to our list. That would be really good, because I feel like people getting side hustles and going into their own business is like massive for the next decade. We're just going to see that.
Perhaps let us know if you want to know about our journeys into business and what it was like for us to establish our own businesses and out of nothing generate clients and generate like word of mouth and that kind of thing. That'd be really, I think, beneficial for us to share it if there's something you're looking for. So let us know. Provide us some feedback on this podcast and let us know if that's something you're interested in.
Just my dog choking in the background. That's so good. Good idea. Definitely let us know what specifically you want to hear about in business and anything like that. We'll take obviously your feedback on board, and whatever you guys want to know, we're open books. I
just have a question for you, Tahlia.
Yes.
So when you do a tarot reading, what's your process? Because when you did a reading for me, you had a lot of amazing guidance that came through, and the spread of cards were quite large. So do you want to maybe tell the audience what's your process when you go through a tarot reading? I
have quite a process at this stage in my journey because I've had a bit of time to develop it and work. It's been a lot of experimenting, of course, but I think I've now really got to the point where I'm happy with my process. So let's say like you're a client, you're coming to me
Yeah.
wherever I'm working. Obviously, I do prefer my home office because it's my space, it's my energy. I have more time, and my clients always say like they feel the best coming here. Obviously, markets is a bit more fast-paced. I can't quite replicate this process exactly, but I do my best to match the energy, of course. So let's just say the setting is here in my home office. We're in it. I will always have, like, usually my salt lamp. This is just how I warm up the space. I always light a candle, so the candle offers light to, like, other realms, to spirit. Yep. Let's keep it simple. To spirit.
Absolutely.
And yeah, opens those lines of communication, and I will usually probably light some incense at some point, either start of the day, to just make sure the energy is clear. So, in opening with that person, I'll introduce myself. So I'm connecting with that person's energy. It's like a opening ceremony, if you will.
Beautiful.
And I'll ask, if there's anything specific that they'd like from me. If they're unsure, then I'll kind of take the lead and we'll navigate together on the way. But yeah, there's sort of like an opening process where I'm merging with that person's energy, and that's how I'm able to read for them.
And that's that real psychic ability, right?
Yeah.
To be able to tap into someone's aura and really expand your energy field and bring them in so that you can understand their emotions and understand them as people. That's that real psychic, like, connection, right?
Yeah, and
then from that helps you connect to spirit, right?
Yes. So in that connecting with their energy, what's also happening is, of course, by association, you're connecting with that person's guides, whoever they are, loved ones, whatever spirit sort of tribe they have. That's not a guarantee. Like, it doesn't, I'll be honest, it does not happen in every reading. Often, yes, but not every single reading. Sometimes someone won't come through, but I'll still match the energy and be able to talk to my guides and get the best advice or sort of guidance for that person. The other important thing with that is I can only do that if someone's open to me going into their energy. We probably need to do an episode on this too. There's a lot to say.
There is. There's a lot, especially when you're wanting a reading from someone and you come in with a bit of a, well, show me how good you are,
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Do you have a story?
I think this is on our list. I have a lot of stories, but I'm not going to do it because it'll take this whole episode. We'll save that for a later date. But yeah, there is that's a particular challenging client that they come in just because they want to see what you're like and how, they're judging how good your abilities are. It's almost impossible to read. In fact, that's probably a time when I would decline the reading.
You kind of go pretty straight up and say, look, I'm not getting anything here. What I think, we should just wrap this up. You don't need to pay anything. But with love.
Don't want that exchange.
With love, goodbye. Have a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Personally, for me, I had a very similar experience. They were very stone cold. It was at a fair. Very stone cold face.
Of course it was.
Yeah. And I was just going on. I was like, this and this and this person's over here, and she's telling me that you're this person, you've got these characteristics that, they really want you to focus on X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
Long story, extremely long story short, guys. We'll expand in a later episode. But I persisted, and, not at my own credit, I just felt the need to persist. And at the end, she's just sits back in her seat, and the client goes, oh, that was one of the best readings I've ever had. You are 100% spot on with everything you said. And I was just sitting there are you joking? I thought I was going to have to refund you.
Yeah, they're give nothing away. It's just stone cold.
Yeah. Which is validating.
Yeah.
In a way, if you can kind of get a good connection to spirit, even if they're so closed off. But it really makes it impossible.
Yeah.
that like never happens.
That was probably a situation where either they really needed that guidance and Spirit was like, no, they need to hear this today. Or on some level, like intuitively or deep down, they were actually open to you reading them.
Yeah.
Even if their conscious mind was like, I'm not sure about this guy, I'm just going to sit here. And because when we're in a fair or like market environment, it's literally like, it's like at the show when they're judging all the dogs or the animals in the showgrounds. We're like on a panel and people walk around and they're like, what are we, it really is that kind of environment.
Are you free? How much do you cost?
Yeah.
And it's a bit of an interesting conversation to have to say, yes, I'm free and I'm this much. Take a seat,
But you can really just, everyone walks past and they're like looking up and down and they're looking at the desk and they're really like analysing what's this person about, what do I get from it? And of course that's part of just you using your intuition. You walk around and go, who stood out to me the most? That's different. That's good. But there are difficult energies associated with that environment, which again, we will cover later on. So my child upbringing was, I don't know, I guess a bit more reserved, like similar to Zach's story. So I grew up in, not super strict, but like a Greek Orthodox family. So we had a lot of traditions, a lot of cultures, which I love. Some element of religion, and mostly, and probably what the most difficult thing was for I think everyone in my family, not just me in childhood, but like my parents, because of course they're very different now to when we were kids, but it's the community that we were in and the way that you're viewed by the community and the society and that sort of reputation and you had to appear as this sort of family and your children had to follow this and this, and it was really structured in that element for the sake of face, I suppose. I don't know. It sounds really vain, but it was like, and for kids watching this these days, they'll probably just be like, oh, that doesn't sound right. But remember, we grew up, when we were children, like, internet didn't exist. Mobile phones didn't exist. So if you're like post-millennial, is that the right way to say it? Or
pre-millennial.
Pre-millennial. No, I'm trying to say like you won't understand what we're going.
Yeah, so pretty much we're old. We were like born in the like 94, 93,
92.
92. See, 92 and 94 babies over here.
Yeah.
So, we had dial-up internet, you guys, who were born in the 2000s onwards, you won't have a clue what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Our phones didn't have cameras for however many years. Anyway, so, okay, it was a different time. The point is it was very different. Information didn't circle around as fast.
Yeah.
Education took a lot longer.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about our families and kind of what we dealt with back then, it really was the normal.
Yeah.
Of course, that's different. Like, now we're all constantly evolving and changing. But yeah, that was kind of my childhood. Like, I remember, this is not a spirit story. This is just a general, like, something my mum said to me that I think is hilarious looking back. Yeah. And I was maybe, I don't know, let's say 10. I was maybe like 11 or 12, maybe 10. And I was a kid that matured very early, so I looked like 16 from the age of 10.
I love it.
But one day my mum's like, okay, it's time, like, you learn to do the housework and blah, 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 and vacuum your bedroom properly, and she's showing me, like, what to do. My mum was a stay-at-home mum, which was amazing. Like, we just had the most amazing childhood. We had a lot of family, a lot of cousins. We were always together. And back then, you could afford to live on one income. Dads worked and mums looked after us.
Yeah.
It's, again, very different now. But, she was like teaching me how to do housework. And she was like, you got to do this properly. This is how you make a bed properly. If you don't get this right, no one's going to want to marry you. Like, you won't get a husband. So it was like, obviously she was probably joking. But in my 10-year-old state, I was like, what? So there was just like, for us both coming out in terms of our sexuality, like, that was never an option for me growing up. I don't know if it was for you.
No,
it was certainly
not at all.
not an option.
Yeah.
For me, it was just like, you grow up, you get a husband,
Yeah.
you make a family, make more Greek babies, and we just continue the culture and the tradition in the most sort of structured way. So I honestly didn't even consider another way of going about my life. I got to my, finished high school, got into a relationship, got a boyfriend, and just went through the motions. And it wasn't until I think I was 25 or 26. And I travelled a lot in those years. my early 20s. Okay, I travelled like overseas and across the country a lot, partly for work, partly for, I don't know how, I just happened to fall into these opportunities.
You were just getting out there.
Yeah, it was,
living
it
life.
was amazing because obviously that's how I was able to expand my awareness so quickly compared to, I guess, the little bit sheltered. Like, I wouldn't really say it was sheltered, but in comparison to, no, it kind of was. So yeah, that just expanded my mindset so much, and I was learning so much, and I was seeing different ways that people live, how accepting, like, people are in Europe, and yeah, and also the thing that, kind of magical thing that happens when you're travelling. You've travelled overseas.
I'm just about to go overseas for the first
Oh,
time.
okay. So
guys, don't come at me. We're getting out there. We're getting out
But what happens is you literally forget, like, your family, your home, everyone just is out of your mind, and you're just so immersed in living in this totally new country and taking in the whole experience. And it's like, so you literally, like, forget who you are, forget all your responsibilities, forget whatever. Or at least for an early 20s person who had no house or whatever, no kids, like, that's what my mind was doing. Sorry, someone just really wanted to show off there, if you heard that on the camera. So part of being in that magical space, I was actually focusing on myself, and that's when I came to the realization that, you know what, how can I say? Just a realization that things that I didn't think were possible, like being in a same-sex relationship, or even being openly pursuing that, like the idea of a relationship was like another thing. It was just the idea of pursuing that to start with suddenly became possible, and I realized, like, once you see something, you can't unsee it. And I realized the relationship that I was in was not for me. Like, there was no way I was going to be able to, I hope this doesn't come out the wrong way, but I realized that I didn't love this person. Not saying that the whole relationship was a lie and I never loved them. Of course I, did. But in that moment I realized I don't actually, I'm not in love with this person. I'm never going to be able to return the love that they're giving me back to them, because that's not what I want. So that was the realization that sort of, and the only way I was able to do that was because I was separated from my day-to-day routine, blah, 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 where you're just like a zombie, asleep, going through the motions.
That three-dimensional thinking, right? That world that we're conditioned to be living in. That, this is my duty, this is my path, this is something that I'm just going to continue doing. And you went there.
Yeah.
That was your life.
That was my first awakening.
Yeah.
Was wild. And it actually was quite well received. My friends were all like, oh yeah, that's not news to us. And I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad you told me, not.
I think our friends, even my friends as well, I think friends are like, yeah, no big deal, no big deal.
They're literally just like, oh, we saw that coming a mile away. I was like... And then my family took a minute, of course, because it was a bit of a shock, but they, didn't take long to come around, because I wasn't the first in the family, and it's kind of more normal now. Hate that word. Sorry, everyone. You know what I mean. So yeah, that was my first awakening. My second awakening, which spurred me finding my way into this business probably happened when I think I got to a point in my work where like I had a lot going on in my personal life too, for a long period of time, like typical dark night of the soul. Again, I'm not gonna go into it here because we'll be here for 3 hours, but dark night of the soul stuff, typical like burnout in my job because I was just like manically trying to keep busy and expending all of this energy and keeping distracted, and I really did burn myself out, and had a lot of stress. And at that time, no one I could go to for support, I suppose. Not because like obviously I had friends and family, but there's only so much they can help us with. Yeah. And unless someone's already gone through that spiritual awakening journey, or there's just like nothing that any of my loved ones could do to help me. So yeah, I did really have to hit that rock bottom state, which is classic lead up to an awakening. And we all go there. We all go there multiple times. Like
yes, hello.
In your lifetime.
I've just come back out there again, guys. Yep. Like it happens. Yeah, yep. It happens.
And it comes out of nowhere.
Yep.
Even for us, it takes us by surprise. So yeah, was right in the thick of that. Pretty much, again, I suddenly had this realization. I knew what I didn't want before I knew what I wanted. So I was like, I know I can't go back to this job. And I just literally suddenly called in sick and took my next shift off and kind of never went back. And so I spent like a couple of months in hermit mode. So I pretty much slept for, 2 weeks straight. Didn't really leave my room. I had to replace so much energy because I was running on like negative. There's a helicopter going over, so if you can hear that, sorry. I actually sent a blanket text out to all my friends and was like, guys, this is what's going on. Don't ask me to catch up. I can't commit to any social plans.
Out of business.
I literally don't know what is happening until the moment. I don't know what kind of day I'm gonna have. Like I don't know anything else. Just like I'm fine. Like it's under control. But I was just like, you're not gonna hear from me for a little while. Like I literally had to go into hermit mode. And they were like, cool, no worries. Like just checked in on me here and there, and totally understanding. So yeah, it was like classic stages of spirituality. Then there was the rebirth, which was when I came out as a spiritual guide and advisor and medium, and started my business.
And that really is coming out. Like that's putting when we come out again as a medium, it really puts us out there, doesn't it? Like it's like, oh wow, all right, we're really doing this. We're really putting the energy and setting the intention that our path that we've been provided to by spirit, we're now following. And that kind of, it's exciting, but for the first time it can be really, you can almost feel a bit trepidatious, like, do I want to jump in?
Terrified.
Yeah, well really, it is terrifying. It really is. Yeah. So coming out, it's an experience. And it's not just related to sexuality, of course. It's in every time we rediscover a part of ourselves and reinvent ourselves and present that to the people in our lives, like we're having to really come out. And I suppose my spiritual coming out was less structured. I just sort of created a Facebook and Instagram, like a website, and I was like, this is what I do now, and everyone was kind of, they were just, it wasn't talked about as much. I think because of the you know what I mean, like when you're coming to your friends saying this stuff, at first, like anybody, they're a bit like trying to work it out. How would you describe that? I think it's like every time we change as people, we constantly come out, right? So say for instance, you guys watching, so you 10 years ago, completely different to where you are now. And the people in your life 10 years ago, if they're still with you now, that means they've accepted you in all your forms and how you've come from being one aspect of yourself to another aspect of yourself. And I guess that's really what Tahlia is getting at, is that when our friends see us change, and sometimes for them it can maybe be a little bit of a sudden, or sometimes they could be like, oh, finally.
Yeah, like our first coming out was your like. Of course, the spiritual coming out was later, right? So same as me. Yeah. So that time everyone was like, oh yeah, that's old news. Like we saw it a mile away. But then the spiritual one, everyone's like, it's a bit more of a shock. So there's a bit more of that transition or adjustment period.
Definitely.
Where they're like, we don't really understand what you're doing, how this process happened. Yeah. But of course we're going to support you. So, you know, they were always there and they were the first people to follow my page and like my stuff and comment and like get me and just support me even if they had no idea what the hell I was talking about. Like I would get texts from my friends that were like, I don't know anything about spirituality, but I love how you just put yourself out there with confidence and you just, you know, grabbed my attention with your videos and with your whatever. And they were just like, we think what you're doing is amazing. So that was like enough for me to just really take into account and value what I'd just done.
Exactly. And I want to add to what you're saying there, Tahlia, because really what I've just heard from that is from difference. From two different spaces, there's growth there. So there's growth, and I suppose this can be like extended across all of society. Us as a society, us as friendship groups and families, it's healthy to have a difference in opinion, right? And it's really healthy to change, and it's really healthy to grow and to challenge one another and to lean on each other and question things and be curious. Because without us doing that, we never get to find out who we are. We never get to find out what some hidden talents are that we might have, and we never get to like help heal the collective, which is why we're here, and that's what our introduction has all been about today, guys, is about healing the collective. So look, if this is something that's really interesting to you, and something that you want to follow along with us on this journey, please like, share and subscribe. We'd love to hear a comment from you. If you a couple of words about what your favourite part of this podcast was.
If you want to reach out to us less personally, more like, well, kind of personally, but you know, in our businesses, we will share all of that information in the description with the links to each of our websites. I know we introduced it at the start, but you can find us there. We also have a Facebook group for specifically the community for this podcast, which is called Inspired Guidance Podcast. It's a group on Facebook. So please join us. We do go live in that group, and we do some Q&A kind of stuff that you only get from that Facebook group. We don't do it on this platform. So a couple of like side benefits, options to choose topics for episodes. All sorts.
And expand your network. We have so many wonderful people in this group already, and we want this to be a place where everyone can naturally expand their network, get to know one another, get to know different mediums and psychics around, and if it's something that you're a client of, there might be something, you know, you might be able to share a learning from a reading or something like that with someone else in the group. So we just really want it to be super open.
100%.
And super accepting of differing views, because that's how we all learn.
Yeah, without being disrespectful, obviously.
Absolutely.
But we want discussions happening, we want networking, we want all of that. Like, we just want this community to reflect us, reflect our values, attract like-minded people, and whoever needs to be here. Or even if you just are like, these people are a good laugh, I'm just here for kicks.
Or
we'll take it.
Zach's got great monotone, and I like that when they go to sleep, put a podcast in. That's fine too.
The ASMR. If you're having trouble sleeping, whack this on.
Alright, guys.
Okay, in saying that, like, we're gonna go because the energy's just, we're getting delirious.
Thanks so much for tuning in. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.